Women's suffrage and struggles, past, present, future, national and global. You may ask, what exactly is women's suffrage? Well, is a term in which women were and are discriminated against. In America, women could not vote or even have an active role in society or decision-making, even in their own household. Women still struggle to gain their rights in America and around the world today. In the lower left-hand corner, you can see a women's suffrage league in the year 1915. Past women's suffrage in the United States. Before the year 1920, many women voted legally but were arrested. And some prominent women's rights leaders up to the year 1920 were Susan B. Anthony, Carrie Chapman Catt, and Anna Howard Shaw, who were all presidents of the National American Women's Suffrage Association. It wasn't until the year 1872 when the first female ran for president, who was Victoria Woodhull. Woodhull's number of votes were never released. And finally, on August 26, 1920, the 19th Amendment was passed, which gave women the right to vote. In the lower left-hand corner, you can see women's rights activist Susan B. Anthony. To the right of her, you can see a women's suffrage march in the year 1913. Current women's suffrage in the United States. Today, in the United States, women are still discriminated against. One example being lack of pay. Today, in the United States and many other industrialized and democratic countries, women still receive less pay than their male counterparts. Men receive 57% of earnings, while women only receive 43%. That is about 37 to 21. In the lower right-hand corner, you can see some women rallying, wanting just as much pay as their male coworkers. Women who are currently in U.S. politics. No woman has ever served as president or vice president, although many have ran on third parties. One woman, Hillary Rodham Clinton, was the first serious female presidential candidate. And also, Democrat Geraldine Ferraro in 1984 and Republican Sarah Palin in 2008 were the first two serious female vice presidential candidates. And here's a photo gallery of the current women in U.S. politics. In the upper left-hand corner, you can see 1984 vice presidential candidate Geraldine Ferraro. To the right of her, you can see our current Secretary of State and 2008 presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. Below her, you can see soon-to-be former governor of Alaska and 2008 Republican vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin. To the left of her, you can see our current First Lady Michelle Obama, who takes a stance on many issues facing our nation today, such as making the White House green garden. And you may say, well, how is the U.S. government responding to women's struggles? Well, in January, President Barack Obama's first bill to sign into law was the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. Lilly Ledbetter is an Alabama woman who worked 19 years in a tire factory and received less pay than her male counterparts. President Obama said he signed this bill into law not only for Lilly Ledbetter, but even for his own daughters, because he said he wants them to grow up in a nation that values their contributions, where there are no limitations to their dreams. Here's a photograph of the president signing the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, and you can see President Obama, and directly behind him is Lilly Ledbetter. Women in the media. Since the early 1990s, researchers from the University of Missouri have found that 22.2% of CBS, 14.4% of NBC, and 10.5% of ABC news stories were reported by women. And also, many Americans believe that Hillary Clinton was discriminated against because she was a woman during the 2008 election by many commentators and comedians. And lately, the comedian David Letterman has come under fire for remarks that many say were sexist, referring to Governor Sarah Palin and her daughter. Current international women's suffrage. As I said earlier, in some countries, even today, women still cannot have an active role in society or decision-making, even in their own household. This especially occurs in third world and Islamic countries. For example, in Saudi Arabia, women can vote and work, but they must have a male escort drive them because they cannot file for a driver's license. And also in Iran, there are more female college graduates than males, but they still do not have the same privileges. The upper left-hand corner, you can see a woman in Saudi Arabia being drove to work, and below that you can see women in Iran rallying for their rights. And here's a chart of the estimated earnings per year. As I said earlier, in the industrialized countries, such as the United States, women still have a disadvantage in earnings, and there's a large gap, 37 to 21. And in large countries such as Japan and China, in East Asia, there's still a disadvantage and a large gap in earnings of men and women, 7 to 4. And also in Latin America, the Caribbean, North Africa, and many other regions of the world, there's still a large gap in earnings, and women have a disadvantage. And this was provided by the Interpress Service in 2003. Poor health due to women's struggles. Today, many women live and die with preventable diseases, such as AIDS and HIV, especially in teenagers and young adults. But if they have proper vaccinations and health care from the government, these diseases could be prevented and treated. This especially occurs in Asian, African, and South American countries, as illustrated below. And also in the United States, there are many less fortunate women who do not have health care, which leads to diseases such as cancer to be left untreated. And in closing, I would like to leave you with a quote, one of my favorite quotes in American history, by Susan B. Anthony. It was "We the people, not we, the white male citizens, nor yet we the male citizens, but we, the whole people, who formed the Union." Here are the credits I used to produce this PowerPoint.